Good morning, everyone. Today is another day of me uploading my JavaScript learning journey. So, hold on, I just need to adjust my mic. So, to continue with the with our previous series, I just today I came across a problem where I actually spent quite a bit of time to research it and come up with a solution or solutions. So basically, we have a set of objects inside an array, and these are the challenges that we need to find, that we need to come up with a solution for. Now, the last solution here is pretty there's the I came up with two ways of coming up with the solutions for the last challenge here, so we'll talk about it a bit later. But with the first challenge here, now I thought that as usual, now I want now what I broke down the challenge in various steps. So the first step here is I need to determine again the text, the ID. I need to reach that ID of the object, and then I need to find a function. So I need to find a function, find or create a function to do so. Now, luckily in JavaScript we have a find index. A find built-in find function. So that's pretty cool. So all I did to it is, after a while of reading the documentations of the Mozilla Firefox, so I figured I was gonna do const new text ID equal text ID dot find. Now we could do this the long way of a function, and then pass in the text, and then we can go return text dot ID equal to 1225364. We should be able to get the comment. Console.log. Let me see. So that would be new text ID. Nothing coming up. Why is that? Hold on, let me enable quirkers. Let me see. Here we go. So quirker in Java in VS Code is enabled. So this is what we get here. Now, what if I was thinking to myself as well, what if I didn't want just an object that contains that ID? What if I want the text itself? So perhaps we could do if text dot ID equal to the ID 1225364. return text dot text. Still gonna get that text there. Let me change text index, see if that works. Text index. Text. We're still gonna get. Now we want to pull out the drinking tea. We want to actually get drinking tea. Where we could do this? Text drinking tea. Yeah, that could work. So we could go new text ID, text of new text ID equal new text ID dot text. Text console.log text of new text ID drinking tea. Okay, so find a text that has the ID of 1225364, and so dot is the first solution there. And then this one here is quite cool as well. We're still gonna have a we're still gonna find index. I found a find index built-in JavaScript function as well. So this one is pretty simple. All we need to do now is, again, it's pretty simple to define here actually. So that would be const index of text equal text ID dot find index. So function index. I want to after this I want to convert everything over to a arrow function as well. So function text ID, now return text ID dot ID equal to say 122. We should be able to get the index of JavaScript here, console.log index of text -1. So it's not coming up with anything. Why is that? Let me see. I must be doing something wrong here, because I know that find index, if it can't find that ID, it's just gonna return a -1 because it can't find any. So I think the argument I put into a function here is incorrect. Okay, I got index number 2. So what it's saying here is that we have a index number 2 in JavaScript. Now I know that we know that we in JavaScript here, so the array, the index always start with 0. So in our daily normally when we dealing with objects or things in our daily life, we think of it as the first one is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. But in JavaScript here, we know that this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So the index here is number 2 because 0, 1, 2. Okay, so we established that's number 2, and we can even go further here and convert this over to an arrow function like I mentioned previously. So I want to keep this, so index. So I want to do a find index and then convert everything of the arrow functions. With arrow functions, we no longer need a curly braces anymore. And then is an implicit return, so we don't need a return keyword explicitly anymore. Bring everything up into one line, and we still getting the result of index text of number 2. Index of the ID is number 2 in the array. Okay, now moving on here to delete the comment with that ID. I thought of now the first way for me to do that is now I know we have an index. So now we know where the index is, which is equals second. 2. The index number 2 in the array. So we want to delete. So I thought to myself, okay, so want to delete index 2 in the array. So now I want to again I found this awesome built-in JavaScript function which is splice. So with splice here, it's actually so what splice does is that depends on the input that you put in. So let me see here, let me demonstrate here. So now cons new array equal text ID dot splice Okay, so with splice here, we want to do the second index, so we could put in just number 2 only, but it could be wrong. We might need a second argument in the splice function as well. So I'm just gonna check console.log new array. So now, so what splice did here is it's actually deleted everything. It deleted the text ID array, everything from the second. It's actually chopped the first 2 out of the original array. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to say drop the second index and nothing else. So I think so drop from the second index and nothing else. So that means drop 1 from the second index. Okay, so I should, so the new array here, this is, don't confuse that with the original array of text ID. This is gonna be a new array because splice returns us a new array. Okay, so new array here is gonna contain this ID here, is gonna contain the ID of the text that we want to delete. But the original ID though, the original array is gonna have console.log. It's gonna have the 3 remaining array previously. So text ID 1, 2, 3. Yep. So as you can see, so got first index, no, 0 index, first index, second index. So the ID of 1, 2, 2, 5, 3, 6, 4 no longer exists in the original array. Okay, so that's the first way of doing it. The second way of doing it as well is actually, you know what? Now, so because we got an index of text as well, we can even pass it into this splice here as well, and it's still gonna get the same result. Because the index of text, the find index built-in method, it returns us number 2 anyway. So we can use that index of text here as a first argument, and then cut 1 at the second argument. Now let's move on here to the second way the second way I wanted to do now is that I want to compare everything to the ID of 1, 2, 2, 5, 3, 6, 4. So any objects ID, any IDs not match with 1, 2, 2, 5, 3, 6, 4, we return it into a new array. So the coolest thing here is I found a another JavaScript built-in function, which is filter. So what filter does is exactly the name itself suggests. So what it does here is it's filters an argument. So whatever does not match, it returns it. So by now we probably realize is this built-in JavaScript here, it's actually quite simple to use and quite similar to each other. So cons latest array equal, you see text, hold on. So we have modified the original array here because of the splice method. So the splice method definitely change or mutate the original array. So let's just leave it out for now. Oops, let's just comment it out. So the array is still going to be the same as original. Now so text ID dot filter. Now function, see, so text, and then we want to go return text ID, no, text dot ID not equal to, this is a not equal to the array that we want to delete. Let me see. Okay, now we should be able to, so what we console.log latest array. That's fine. What have I done here? What have I done wrong? Alright, so I think what Quaker, the VS Code extension just did here is it stops executing from this line here because we commented out the new array, so it's giving us an error, so it stops executing from that line. So if we comment it out, I should be able to get the result here. Here we go. So the latest array here, let me see. So it's gonna have that ID there, this ID here, and then this ID here, but it no longer, the latest array no longer has the ID of this here. Now I just want to check something as well. I just want to see if that actually mutates the original array as well. I don't think it does, but I'm just gonna double check. Text ID. So yeah, so it does not actually mutate the original array. So filter returns out a brand new array of the filter argument we want, but it does not mutate the original array, so which is pretty good. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for listening and watching today, and I'll be coming back with a lot more contents. So looking forward to seeing you guys again. Bye bye.